Yes. We also found. Yeah.
Right, Jerry? Know the word that you was in the mic, right? Yeah.
Hello. Okay. I see the right number and board members.
Okay, we are live on YouTube now.
We're going to get started. Thank you for joining the Community Board 7 Transportation meeting. We are going to get started.
So we're trying an experiment with our sound. Folks who are at home, I would appreciate if you would let us know how the sound quality is from time to time. We're working with fewer microphones tonight. Hopefully that will clear up the problem. So I'm going to call attendance. When I call your name, please just acknowledge. I will acknowledge you. We're joining us online. Please mute yourself once you acknowledge your name. We'll start with Katie Walsh. Thank you. John DeLuca. Present. Thank you. Joan Body. Yeah. Thank you. Jerry Chan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Davina Morales. Zachary Jacy. Daniel Kaminsky. Yeah. Thank you. Roberto Martinez. Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Jim Nelson. Sam Sierra. Thank you. Cindy Vandenbosch. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much to the transportation members who made it here. And we are going to get started in a minute, but I'm going to embarrass him and say that acknowledge it to Jerry, who came to the board meeting on his birthday. And I'm going to try and sing, right? Birthday. Thank you. Okay, so that's a commitment for you. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to flip the agenda items into the street naming first. Avenue presentation. Nice to see that. See they're here. So this proposal, this was sent out ahead of time, and we have some speakers, and it's specifically for street code naming for 24th Street between 4th and 5th Avenue. And the honoree's name is Wallace. And we do have two representatives speaking tonight. So I just want to call up the first one, Paris, who will speak a little bit about our contributions to. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So Hector Gonzalez, the father of the Gyra Gonzalez, street co-naming request for 24th Street between 4th and 5th. I'm going to briefly go over Gyra's bio so that you can become familiar with who Gyra was. Maybe I'll read his request. Writing a request to that 24th Street between 4th and 5th Avenue be co-named Gyra C. Gonzalez Street after longtime Sunset Park resident and community activist Gyra Gonzalez. Gyra passed away July 5th, 2022. She was a mom, a sister, an aunt, and a great friend of the community. She was the founder of the 24th Street Festival. She attended PS1. 24 summer camp. She was a summer camp counselor, and she made a number of contributions to her community. particularly to community members in need. Her death was devastating and, expected by many in the community. Months before her festival was about to take place. I have a bio, just to be a little bit brief. Most of it I already mentioned in the request. So I'm going to jump from her school that she attended in Sunset Park to her childhood, written as by her father. As a child, Idara demonstrated an innate sense of compassion and justice. She became her big sister Yashane's voice in the fence. When people were cruel, she challenged them and did not allow them to treat her sister that way. As a child and as an adult, she inspired her father to stretch to new heights and try new things. Her Hector became an actor, landing roles in movies and commercials that gave him immense pride. She talked to people in the neighborhood about standing up for their rights. In her wisdom, she would be humble and firm, remind people that she never allowed herself to be diminished by others. She was brave, compassionate. She was amazing impact on those around her. She loved the community. When her block was vandalized by outsiders, as was her nature, she confronted the vandals. I do remember Idara being very fearless. And then if I can speak for myself, I do remember having her a very big passion for community and people, older adults, for families, for children, just about everybody. It was just her passion to give back. And I remember her reason for creating, founding the 24th Street Festival was to bring to the street, give something back to the community with music, art, and culture. I'll jump to Idara loves her community, blah, blah. She left a mark on her family and community. The sense of her community was changed for better because of her. She will never be forgotten. Idara is survived by her beautiful children, which is 19-year-old Justice, the 7-year-old Catalina, her sisters Frances, Shane, Shaika, and her parents Hector and Francis, and many extended family. She was also part of Just Three workshops designed to inspire and encourage mental youth and community. And thank you. And we have another speaker who's coming up tonight.
So, I just want to also add that there were 25 neighbors who won for letters support. There was also a letter of support from the Lions Club, the community, so there's also a letter of support from them. And then Paris provided a opening remarks provided letter. So, okay, so not seeing any. So with that, I would propose that we have as consent. That would be seconded. Seconded, okay.
Just say.
And Sekou, John Bluebird, Chair seconded, and is there?
No, and I see no, I'll do the group. I just want to read the rights.
Great, yes, we'll make sure, we did send it out ahead of time to the email list, but we'll also be sending letters of support after. So, unanimous, so I'll pause for a second. Okay.
Just
So
if you don't agree, speak up.
if you don't agree, speak up. Okay, with that, pass it unanimous consent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for Hector, the father, for being here. Okay, so I'm going to move to our second agenda item, which is a discussion presentation from New York City Department of Transportation about clearing avenues. We have a few different speakers, but I refer to Emily to let us. Is that first? Okay, great. Thank you. You can introduce yourself.
Hello all, thank you. My name is Chris Brunson, Director from Research, Implementation, and Safety at DOT. Tonight we're going to give you an update on our third annual safety study. The urgency to create a safety project on Third Avenue is quite apparent. 14 fatalities in 2016. This is over 3 times as much as on Fourth Avenue, same months. And so we've known that there's this need for safety improvements on Third Ave, working with your board and elected officials. But we know that something ambitious needs to happen on the corridor, and that's why we've engaged in this process throughout. The reasons that it's really challenging to implement something very ambitious on Third Avenue, we all know that Third Avenue carries a lot of traffic. It's a truck route. There's a lot of traffic on Third Avenue, but there's a big safety. So tonight we're going to look at, McKenna's going to bring us through or take us through our initial consolidation of all that outreach that we've engaged in since April. And then we're going to talk about 3 different proposals and talk about the next steps following this. So after she gives her presentation, we'll take your questions and have more, get more feedback from you about this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. I might need somebody to assist pushing through the slides so we show. Thank you. My name is McKenna Russell, Manager at Transportation.
You have to put the microphone a little higher, so it's small.
Can you hear me now? Is that good? Great. Please start. Next slide. All right, just to give a little agenda item for what we're going to be discussing tonight. First, we're going to go through a bit of a, and then leading into the sort of existing, as well as the safety issues that we previously identified, as well as the feedback that we received based on those safety issues that we highlighted. And then we're going to go into the outreach and some of the site. And then we'll design proposal options, and then we'll conclude with the final steps. Open it up to the Q&A.
I'm using this mic.
This one, no?
Takes a second.
Hello. All right. Okay. So it's no surprise to anyone that Third Ave has received a safety improvement request for this particular stretch. Community Board 7, to speak with you guys and work with you throughout this community outreach process, as well as several electeds in the area have submitted letters requesting for safety improvement, as well as a number of schools along the corridor, plus the SECA and the 70 previously. And so to do that, we conducted a series of outreach during the spring of this year. Working with Community Board 7, we completed extensive community outreach to lay the future foundation for the street improvement project. So we conducted 3 visioning workshops, 2 in person, 1 virtually. We also had a public feedback and web portal with a map so that folks could place their safety issues on the web interface. And then finally, we had our street ambassadors conduct several deployments, merchant and intercept space. So specifically for the project limits of this scope, we are looking at Third Avenue between Prospect Ave from 62nd Street, or Prospect Ave to 62nd Street, excuse me. The study area is encompassing below the BQ for 106 Crossway, and there are several subway stations located around for that, highlighted in the map to the right. We also have a number of pedestrian generators in the area of note in the city, so we have a lot of folks that are crossing Third Ave to get to this location. And there's also a number of schools located throughout the corridor that are highlighted on the map as well. And then just noting that there is a local truck route on Third Ave, east-west connections, so lots of trucks right along the corridor. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you. All right, so diving a little bit into the crash and injury data, why we are looking at this corridor. noting that there's been a high number of fatalities. And just to really reiterate how, extensive this is, when we compare it to Fourth Ave with much more complex. The subway stations, et cetera, we're seeing over 3 times the amount of fatalities occurring on Fourth Ave when we compare it to Fourth. Also of note, there is a high number of killed or severely injured crash sites that we're seeing along the corridor. And that is almost 2 times the amount if we compare it again to Fourth. So when we look at the types of injuries and crash sites that are occurring on the corridor, there are a high majority of rear end, right end collisions happening, or right angle crashes, sorry. And that is all of the motor vehicle occupant. This is indicative of speeding and vehicles running red lights. Also, the pedestrian injury types are consisting of mostly folks crossing outside crosswalks in block locations, as well as crossing with the signal. So folks are and they are subsequently injuring a pedestrian as they're crossing in the crosswalk with the signal in their favor. So that is indicative of the long crossings along Third Avenue, as well as vehicles failing folks. And then finally, noting that the multiple cyclist fatalities mostly due to those hitting the doors of parked cars. This is indicative of the safe facilities, as well as instances of forward. So digging out a little bit about the bike network, I noted that there's a lack of safe bikes facilities along here. There are existing east-west connections along this stretch of Third Ave, and there is the ongoing construction of the Third Avenue Hamilton Ave Greenway project that overlaps our limits, so it's north of Flagler Street. And the existing topography may deter some riders from using Fourth Avenue. And when we looked at the volume of folks utilizing Third Ave, we saw that there was an increase in bike membership. And when we compare that to something like Queens Boulevard, what we're seeing on Third Ave is a lot larger number of folks Third Ave. So demonstrating a huge need for safe bikes. So just to provide a little bit of the context of the existing conditions here, we're all very aware that the large corridor changes from 3 lanes in southbound direction between 19th to 54th Street. And then as you continue south, it changes from 2 northbound lanes to 3 southbound. So that's service road on either side. And then again, mentioning that the Kiwanis has 3 lanes in each direction and it's right above the so as I had mentioned, we collaborated with Community Board 7 to host a series of visioning workshops in order to solicit feedback from folks who know Third Ave very well. And so we had in-person workshops with translation services, and then participants were provided a short overview presentation followed by a map and visioning exercise to help us identify safety concerns and themes. So as I going through the sort of safety issues that we have identified, one of the top line themes throughout the workshops were lack of pedestrian infrastructure. I mean, here you can see, and you all know very well that there is a serious lack of ADA ramps. The columns themselves present a huge issue for accessibility. And this was noted again in some of the feedback that we received from the workshops, folks noting the difficult crossings along Third Ave, and again, just striking the because of the presence of the columns in the road as well. Another top line issue that we discussed throughout the workshops were the poor visibility and again exacerbated by the presence of the BQE as well as the columns in the roadbed. And people noted this a lot in feeling unsafe. There's a lack of lighting. It creates visibility issues. So really a call for safer turning calming measures. Noting here the on-crossing distances, especially across the way where you have 3 lanes of traffic in each direction. Here we had folks who were asking for crossing distances, and that there's not enough time to cross sufficiently, and especially when you have 6 lanes of traffic, vehicle behavior. Again, just noting type of crash data that we have seen on this corridor. So again, reiterating the pedestrian and vehicular conflicts, particularly with turning movements at the medians. Folks, again, expressing that the medians are insufficient and that there aren't large enough to provide adequate space for vehicles who are turning on these minor streets. And then noting the high vehicle speeds, really welcoming unsafe vehicular movements and the high speeds. So again, our crash types reiterating these rear end collisions, what folks have identified as level concerns, and asking for a more robust to identify ways in which that we can reduce the vehicular speeds. And then finally, just noting again, Third Ave is a truck volumes, but folks identify the turning truck movements as unsafe and the roadways in poor condition. And again, welcoming that unsafe vehicular driving behavior where we're seeing trucks double parking corridor and loading needs occurring. And then finally, just identifying the lack of safe cycling facilities. Again, folks asking for safer cycling facilities, more robust protection, because there is a demonstrated need for safer facilities on the corridor. And so again, just highlighting the top themes what we discussed with the workshops. Again, accessible ask, especially on medians with cobblestone and infrastructure and road bed, lighting and interest in expanding similar treatment that we see at 36th Street, adding more pedestrian space to give folks more time to cross, strong interest in a or lane reduction to reduce vehicular speeds and discourage that overflow that is of traffic from BQE, and a strong interest in bike infrastructure, expressing that Fourth Ave is too crowded with the vehicles volume that we were seeing on Third Ave. Generally, just some concern too about compatibility with the industrial uses. And then finally, interest in improving the existing transit and bus facilities along there. So for folks who couldn't attend the workshops, our in-house basically the workshops. Here we have conducted 5 days of in-person surveys during the spring of 2023. They also posted accessible QR codes along the corridor where people could fill out the surveys. And we had that digitally available online through our campaign where we launched and solicited feedback from folks. And we had approximately 385 total surveys that were completed. And I did want to note that 64% of the survey responses were from local community members, but that also is representative of people who travel to Third Ave or work on Third Ave. And then just noting here how folks typically go to Third Ave, majority of which get to Third Ave by walking.
I mean, FHB.
That's like the freight heavy vehicles. So our findings respondents reported that their top 3 states were unsafe vehicular behavior, unsafe sidewalk conditions and poor lighting. And it goes in at the top. The majority of the response also supported speed along the corridors, such as overflow of parking or traveling, in order to reallocate the space for safety. And then 68% of the respondents said that they wanted that out. And here on the right is highlighting what other treatments folks would like to see on third out as well. So to get a little bit more information about the type of loading needs that occur on Third Ave, our street ambassadors also conducted function surveys. Here they had a number of deployments. They surveyed businesses, and about 67% of businesses reported that they don't make outgoing deliveries, but most businesses report that they station box trucks and cars. If they make those outgoing deliveries, 15% utilize bikes. And then just at the bottom here, just noting that approximately half of businesses will see vehicles not related to their business double parked. And then here to the right, just noting where delivery vehicles businesses park, and the majority of which use. So we are collaborating with our EQE corridor vision team. A lot of the feedback that we received during our workshops was very similar to the BQE outreach. Third Avenue is going to be a focus for the BQE South for future improvements. And the timeline of the BQE process actually is going to happen this week. We will have some representatives speak on behalf of the and then the releasing of the final plan will occur next spring.
So before you get to the proposal, I just want to test water. When this process, the Aspen Community Board said we're going to pull people out, but that we wanted the feedback. So we don't want to distill the version. We want to actually see the survey responses, and we actually want to see what was written up by the consultants, what people said. And that was clear from the onset that there's going to be a process. We don't want to just see what went through the DOT filter. We want to see what the community has asked for, and we want to see what the issues were raised. I know specifically that there were issues talking about flooding, talking about air, talking about environment. There are lots of health issues that it didn't go through your DOT filter, which is okay, but not actually. We actually need that information. So I don't want to move into a space where we're talking about design concepts before there is a commitment from DOT that be able to get that information, because those are our community assets. We committed to giving time, giving our energy, and we don't want to just see it run through.
We can talk about what we can get you.
We talked about this. We've had a lot of conversations about it.
I have not done this.
Well, I'm letting you know that I've talked about it, and we've been talking about it for about a year and a half. So what I would like is a commitment from DOT that we will get what people said in their feedback, what they said in those meetings. We don't want it. We don't want the filter version. We want to know what people said.
Can I respond? Yeah. Yeah, thanks. So I just wanted just to clarify one of the challenges of giving you an unfiltered version of a workshop output is that we're not getting literally every single thing that was said at a workshop.
That's okay. We don't want it just run through the filter. We want what was said by the community. We made that very clear from the outset. No, you're not. You're presenting a set of information that you went through. There was a lot of other issues that the community provided. That's what we're looking for, is what was the diversity of perspectives provided. What was the raw responses from people? And we've been very clear. There's been tons of communication from CB7 out about this. And I will respectfully just pause and leave space for that. We want to see your design concepts.
Right.
But I'm concerned about what's not being presented, what's not being shared. So I want to acknowledge that, but then we want to see the follow-up of what was provided to the community. What did the community provide?
Yeah, we'll do our best to give you a version of that's digestible. That's what I can commit to. I mean, I can't commit that we're gonna get every single piece of feedback that was provided at the workshop as possible.
The data from the surveys taken by the ambassadors, but the actual proprietary information that was taken from the meeting, that's DOT.
Why is that proprietary if it's the
You're
community
welcome.
feedback?
You're welcome to come to our office and see the materials in person, but we cannot give that to you.
So we made this very clear from the beginning, the commitment that we were making, we want to see, we are partners and wanting to see Third Avenue improve. The community is showing up, they're giving their input. I don't know what's proprietary about people talking about their lived experiences on Third Avenue. You can provide that information back to us in a way that.
We're gonna figure out what we can provide. That's my, yeah, what our summary is in a different type of.
So there's survey responses, and there's also the in-person workshops that happen. Again, it's not a surprise. Just want to make that clear.
We need to manage expectations about every single thing that is recorded because it's somebody talking at a workshop and a note taker taking things down. There's going to be.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
We'll see we'll see what the best we can get you in as far as a raw data set.
Okay, and I just, the stress of this is to say that go through this process, we'll see what's presented, but those are community assets. We also need to be able to hold on to. So I just, that is the point of this, to make it clear, because there are a lot of other issues that you guys are not going to be addressing through your design proposal that have to be tackled. Point has been overstated, but I just wanted to kind of.
Yes, sounds good.
And that was the perfect time to pause because I did want to provide that caveat and that our design consideration. Slide. We wanted to have design considerations that address the community feedback from Third Avenue to workshops that we held, as well as improving the safety and accessibility issues in the corridor, but also design and develop a safety project that is transformative and near term and utilizes in-house resources. And also focuses on the improvements on the safety project, complements the existing capital projects that are going throughout the corridor. And then just finally noting that some of the design options here do include lane removal, so there will be a percentage of the current traffic that will need to be reduced. Okay. Illinois.
We need to figure out the mic situation.
Could you go back one? Improve safety and accessibility. What are you going to do there?
So that's what the next
Yeah.
slides are. We'll take the questions, your questions after. So the next slides are talking about that.
Okay, just here the ongoing corridor-wide improvements. These are mostly capital projects and projects that DOT is undertaking. Noting a bunch of these, happy to take any questions regarding any of this, but let's jump into the proposals. So I just wanted to note that the design options that I'm about to show mainly are focused on 19th and 54th Street because that needs to be the primary focus until we decide for the southern portion, just because the changing geometry will need to have, you know, a formulated before we can do that. And then also having a coordinated design with the existing Hamilton Freeway project that is north of 29th. So design options.
Let's go back to the first slide because it was out of focus. Yeah, I need to focus one.
So I'll take the time to note that the design options here do fluctuate from less ambitious to more ambitious, and all of these can be built in-house, timeline, and resource-wise will differentiate. So let's look at this. So design option one is the curve extensions. These are the easiest and fastest to implement. These allow for some of the safety impacts, but again, this will have minimal safety sort of treatment with benefits wise. Also allows pedestrians to be consistent and creates those slower, safer turns. The challenges with this one, as I mentioned, is less transformative. This won't reduce the overflow traffic, EQing, doesn't address any dedicated space for the cyclists or provide any improvements for bus riders. And some of the curb extensions are only feasible on temporary materials, just due to the catch basin, the roadway. And there's a net 1 to 2 parking space loss here. So we'll go to the next slide, and this is going to provide an overview of the. You'll see here again those painted curb extensions create those slower, safer turns, and shorten crossing distances for pedestrians and increase the pedestrian stability. So our next option is combining the curb extension with the median extensions. Here, it's shortening the crossing distances for pedestrians and providing safer, shorter crossings. It's also improving accessibility at some medians by offering a dedicated space for folks to safely cross the minor streets, and adds a buffer to the median for parking maneuvers to occur along there. One of the challenges with this will require a lane removal. It's necessary to implement, and the wide buffer along the median may encourage some double parking occurring. There is no dedicated space for cyclists along this corridor, and no improvements for bus riders. And then again, just noting that some curb extensions will not be feasible to build in concrete, just due to the conflicts with the catch basins, the columns, and the downspouts, at the parking median. And then also noting that some of the medians may have issues with parking enforcement if they aren't enforced properly. And noting here again, just the net loss of 1 to 2 parking spaces. Here is providing an aerial overview, again, improving the accessibility by allowing extra space for folks to make the maneuvers at the medians, shortening those crossing distances, allowing parking maneuvers to occur at the median with that average buffer space, and again, providing the curb extensions to create those slower, safer turns. Okay, and then our final sort of design considerations I often here, protected bike lane. This addresses the previous crouch heights that we've seen for all roadway users, offers a dedicated safe space for cyclists along Third Ave, increases visibility, creates shorter crossing distances. This also allows for targeted in-house concrete construction, particularly noting the bike and bus boarding islands. Again, those can be constructed in concrete, just depending on resources from here. This also responds to the direct feedback that we received from the community outreach. Again, asking for more materials, dedicated space for folks, and shortening crossing distances. And again, discouraging the sort of overflow. This also gives us the opportunity to connect the Third Ave to north of 29th Street, and then also allows for improvements on existing capital work occurring along the corridor. Some of the challenges for this one, this again will require to be implemented. This is going to have about 3 to 4 parking spaces per block through, and then allows us to, again, conflicts with some of the,
It says 5 to 6.
5 to 6, sorry, 4 to 5. And in some places, this will conflict with the industrial. So again, just giving a aerial overview here. Again, noting that the connected bike lane provides that dedicated space for cyclists. Again, respond crash types that we're seeing here, increasing the visibility of cyclists and pedestrians for those turning movements, shortening the crossing distances for pedestrians, allowing us to have targeted in-house construction forward. So here just highlighting the cross sections for each of the design considerations, design options. And I just wanted to note that for the portion south of 39th Street, it varies slightly just because the parking median is about 12 feet bigger. So just discussing real quick, next steps. We're going to continue to coordinate our efforts with the BQE team. So next week, we will be present at the BQE South workshops. In the spring of 2024, the design concept of the BQE plan will be released. DOT is going to present back to CB7 with the corridor street improvement plan. And then we will simultaneously begin developing the portion south of 54th Street, as I mentioned, 29th Street. And then in the summer, fall, plans for implementation, again, exact limits and the resources to be determined. And then 2024 and beyond, implement the additional phases of third asset, as well as continue with coordinating with those ongoing capital projects along Third Avenue. More capital efforts along Third Avenue.
Okay, thank you. You're gonna have a lot of questions. Thank you very much. So I want to, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of questions. Great question. Okay, just to say that I want to appreciate that it has taken us a very, 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 very long time to get here. And we're here. So I want to acknowledge that to the process. And, you know, anything in the news, you know, backpedaling all the time. So I want to kind of acknowledge that that they're here, they're in the room, and they're giving us a presentation. And this is the goal of this purpose. Minutes is to ask as many questions as possible and react a little bit to it. And please, if there's something that you like in the proposal, make sure to say it also. So one of the things that we made also really clear at the get is that 60th Street and 3rd Avenue is the most dangerous intersection. And you've made a decision to not include it, and you said why. But that is a concern. And so I think I would like that to be acknowledged and discussed. And the second thing before I get to that else is that painted corners become parking spaces. They don't serve the goal and ambition purpose. DOT has made it really clear that they can't enforce enforcement. And so what my point in saying this is that as a design is dysfunctional. It doesn't work in practice. And so what you do see is if we're going to have any corners, like how are we actually going to harden those and be actually safe? So if you can talk about that and those two questions. Thanks.
Thank you. So to answer the first question, we're not saying that we're not doing anything at 60th and 3rd Ave. What the point of our presentation today is to get a general sense for the larger corridor. The bulk of the corridor is very dissimilar to the 54th through 62nd portion. Which of these cross sections we choose help to inform that type of design south of 54. We haven't committed to a scope of implementation. This is, again, bringing your feedback, synthesizing your feedback, looking at our options, presenting a few options for discussion purposes. These are not set in stone. These are for discussion purposes. And yes, to your point, we understand that there are limitations for the painted curb extensions. Now, why do we include painted curb extensions if they're a third rail? It's because that's what we can do. Painted curb extensions are the only thing we can do at the corners because of the catch basin. mentioned earlier. With our in-house capacity for concrete, building that more permanent infrastructure, we need to have those floating islands. Islands that are away from the curb, not connected to the curb because they do not have those type of drainage constraints and implications that something extending the curb does. Curb extensions that your community has had in the past, those are capital projects. This is not a capital project. This is a in-house project or a street improvement project. So that is why we do those. Now, how can we help to harden those spaces? We can put granite blocks, we can put linears, we can put, various types of plastic cones, etc. But yes, you're right. We do have limitations.
Yeah, I'll add some additional questions. First, I do want to give you guys kudos for coming here, for holding a very extensive outreach campaign and soliciting this feedback. I'll echo Katie's concern, but hope that you will get back to us with as best as we can with that full data so we can have a complete picture. I also do want to echo the concern about flooding and note that I know this may be related to your PQE projects because a lot of the drainage is coming off the highway and it drains right into crosswalks, it drains into all kinds of areas that's really bad. So I would hope that you could, as you continue this work, also add things like maybe bioswales or other things that can catch some of that rainwater and reduce some of these problems related to flooding. Also, I have a couple questions related to the ADA accessibility. So as I understand it, the city has a timeline for accessibility upgrades. So is there like time we're going to be able to predict when you'll be able to have those curves not being these cobblestone raised things with no crosswalks? Or is that too soon to say?
For the whole city or I don't know if we have a timeline for the whole city. I do know they're making a very, anywhere you're seeing a red map crosswalk now, that's a ramp that's been upgraded. You're probably seeing, you're seeing dozens of those in your neighborhoods and communities. For Third Ave, we do have a series of intersections that are currently in capital reconstruction. I haven't remembered. Yeah. Yeah. There's a series of them currently in construction.
So right here.
Yeah. 42nd, 44th, 45th, 46th, 47th, 48th, 49th, 50th, 51st, 53rd, 55th, 56th are currently within a capital head ramp contracts. These are complex locations because they require full reconstruction with the cobblestones, downspouts. There's a lot of more complicated factors. Yeah. Right. And so that they're partnering with DEP on that. So that, yeah, we don't have a full timeline, but those are the ones that are in active construction. Yeah, right. It's part of that contract. Like contract.
I just a few more things. I want to add the echo the concern about anything made of paint and plastic is really not a good solution because especially at Third Avenue, there's so many issues with parking enforcement, not only for enforcing the double parking and the other illegal parking, but there's sidewalk parking and things like that. I also am a little surprised not to see any more talk of parking regularization. But the BQE, there's been talk of some of the medians that don't have anything, changing them into parking. Is that also something that's on your map?
Yeah, it's something that's happening currently with this project. Yeah.
Go back to that topic.
It's the ongoing work. Yeah. So there's the existing, under the L metered parking between 29th and 43rd, but there are some plans to expand that. It's not technically part of the project, but yes, if you can get more details on how we'll come back with the full proposal.
They just require the removal of cobblestone.
And also, I think it's on a longer timeline because of the overlapping construction, both the Hamilton Avenue Greenway in the north and the pedestrian ramp, project you mentioned in the south. So, overlapping construction.
And also would urge you to include some of those further areas that you haven't included, and maybe even expand the scope a little more, because I know 65th Street, the very edge of our district, or intersects with another one, does have some safety concerns. We also have had concerns from businesses at 63rd, where the Parkway stuff falls off of it. I know that's Belt Parkway and Kiwanis Expressway and all that, but those are real concerns. Finally, I would say that you mentioned red light cameras on one of them, but as I understand it, other times you come back and say red light cameras are not an option because they're maxed out. Is that the case, or are you planning to move a red light camera here, or to add it, or to do a temporary one? Like I know you have temporary speed cameras. Is that the case? I thought I saw red lights mentioned on one of those.
So yes, our cameras are maxed out. They are placed all over the city, the amount that we are legally allowed to place. However, they are placed on rotational basis, so they do rotate around the city. That's something that we can address now over afterwards. It's a cameras.
Okay.
We also have been doing the mobile speed cameras as well.
Okay, and I think those are all my questions for now, but I thank you for taking the time.
So Joan has the mic.
On your capital projects that are going on the 40th Street, where the cobblestones are going to be removed. What about north side? From 40th Street to 30th Street to 20th Street. You have the same problem with people crossing there. On your slide, where we saw the gentleman with the cane crossing the street, in the street, because of the cobblestones, you could see that the gentleman had a problem with his feet. Don't be.
Well, we can follow up. So the way that those complex pedestrian ramp contracts work is they get a number of locations, not max out the location for one contract, but we can follow up with our PedRamp program and figure out what type of
is from to eliminate half of Third Avenue. That's not right. This board has been asking DOT to make improvements on Third Avenue where all the schools. We have a fairly new schoolroom on 61st and 3rd. We started way before that school started construction, asking DOT to come to us with improvements for 60th Street. I'm on this board now 31 years. And 31 years, we have been asking for improvements on Third Avenue. Do I have to go any further? If you want me to go further, I'll certainly go further. But I will leave you with that. 31 years. In my tenure, never mind people before me.
Oh, okay. Go to Jerry and then we'll go to Cynthia.
like birthday boy. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have two comments. Going back to the painted first. Those controlling hazard. So those become like trip hazard to know these themselves, breaking down, breaking the head, blood in the head, tripping over it. But I think the sidewalk is not the solution. I think that's one of my comments. Follow up. I keep getting complaints by neighbors every single day. So we need to come up with a better solution. Where we can post it enough that truck will give it, what, and then just run over it. And elderly cannot see it trip over. Second, going back to 16th now, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up. 16th Street, as a now, I am afraid of crossing the street. Right, so you have to kind of consider, if you do, and I think I did mention when the rush hour is, it is an exit off the highway, and people go about 60 miles. I live in this, okay? So people will see a green light or orange light and try to find it. Doesn't matter if you have a speed camp, there's a school in the front. Right, so we need to kind of think about kind of expand this project. Second, after 39th Street, my last question, after 39th Street, right, there's a lot of business post that have garages and stuff. Have we considered that if we do either the option, we might block or we will take up some of the space they need to exit?
Yeah, okay, so, again, for 60th and 3rd, we understand we're here, that's the intersection that is highest priority to the court, so. Now, when we look at the corridor options, just to run you through them again, the first one takes no, vehicular capacity. The next two do. And if we do take vehicular capacity, we want to be more aggressive, we want to be more ambitious, that changes what we can do. 6, there'll be less lanes, that means there's more safety, there's more room to do safety improvements. The first one just takes the parking lane and uses that space and shortens those crossing distances. The others take more space and vehicles and make it less attractive for people to drive on there as an option. So that's why we're trying to gauge what the community's ambitions are for the state. Do we want to be ambitious? Do we want an ambitious solution? Now, that doesn't come without costs, but that's what we're here to talk about. The businesses, we're well aware that there are many driveways, blocking the driveways, any option that we created, there can be appropriate markings that would, signal the give buffer space to driveways for visibility, and so those vehicles not blocking driveways.
Hi, I'm the chair of public safety for Community Board 7. I have a few questions.
Okay.
One, the lighting. It said under consideration. It's a big complaint. It's very dark over there, and not just for people crossing the street, but for people who live in that community.
Yeah.
A lot of robberies happen because of the darkness. It's very easy under that DQE to do all kinds of various things. So that's one. So I'm hoping that lighting does get very much improved. The second thing is, the biggest complaint we get at public safety meetings is scooters, e-bikes, scooters, motorbikes, not only on the sidewalks, with using the streets improperly. They go the wrong way. In fact, in one of your pictures, I found it ironic. You had the bicyclist going the wrong way. And if he got hit, it would be the car's fault, but they were going the wrong way. They were going up on the top. So that was one of your own pictures. So I think that's something that also has to be addressed. I don't know if that was something you looked at your study, but I see it every day. They go the opposite direction of traffic, which is a big issue. Both the motorized scooters, e-bikes, and regular bicycles, they go against traffic, which is illegal for them to do. And that causes great safety issues as well, besides being on the curb. In fact, I believe a person who was hit not too long ago on 51st and 3rd was going the wrong way and hit the car. He hit the car. Yeah. So I think it's a big thing also of educating people, letting them know they have to follow all the safety traffic rules. So these improvements right? But that's a big piece of it. That if there, all these things could be great, but if people don't follow the safety rules, we're back to square one.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality for anything. Yeah, riding on the sidewalk, on a bike, on a scooter, on an e-bike, if you're over, I think 14 years old, that's illegal.
Yeah.
And unsafe and unpredictable, especially, e-bikes and scooters that will be traveling more than 15 miles an hour. That's
Yeah.
actually very unsafe. Obviously, riding against traffic, that's still illegal. So, yeah, but those are all noted, yeah.
I have a question. So we have lots of schools on Third Avenue. While speed cameras are great, they're not a deterrent necessarily to speed, and people want to speed. Speed bumps, though, have been shown to be a deterrent to speed. So any consideration about putting speed bumps, particularly in front of those elementary schools that go along Third Avenue? We have PS1 on 47th Street. You have 60th Street. You have two schools actually. You have 503, 504, and right across the street, you have that other school. So any consideration about speed bumps, and I know people don't like speed bumps, but they do slow down people, especially when they're put in front of schools. A lot of communities have done that instead, because they have shown to slow people down considerably when there's a speed bump.
Yeah, noted. So this is proposal right now, very conceptual, right? We don't have the details. But as part of our full proposal, we want to come back with those cross street improvements as well, especially focused on schools. Speed bumps, we know all too well that they are a great safety treatment. So we appreciate that feedback. Our team is part of a team that does the speed humps, and we do the race crosswalks. So we really do think that that's a really important element for those cross streets, especially when they're high speed. Now the challenge is we can't put the speed humps on any truck routes. So any of those cross streets that are truck routes, those can't have speed humps, but we can potentially do another version called the speed cushion. So we'll have to look into those options.
We'll take the cushion. We can get
Yeah.
it. And just to add comments, so that people can speak. Another issue that we have is abandoned vehicles. So traffic enforcement, if I so that you're gonna increase the meter. But right now there is some metered parking, and one of the big complaints we have is that people leave their vehicles there and they abandon for months on end, and NYPD only has one tow truck that does the tow road. So I'm wondering how that will affect. I know you said there was one that I read there that you would increase the meters along there, but again, people do those types of things, and not related to Third Avenue, but related to Fourth Avenue. When you fix Fourth Avenue, you left an island only on one side of the street, not on both. Makes it very challenging for people with handicap to cross the street or elderly because they only can cross on one side. So I can speak specifically about 50th Street and 4th. It's on one side, not the other. So if I'm not crossing on this side, to go this way, that way to cross because the other side is open. A planter is going to be put there eventually on one side, but it leaves a big open space that cars kind of pull up there. So if you get stuck in the middle while crossing because you didn't have enough time, it's quite dangerous. So I hope that's not going to occur here either.
CB7, we were on the record. You absolutely implementation. We sent it to the DOT commissioner and received that.
We received something back from DDC, nothing from
DOT.
DOT.
So we have not received.
And we are going to receive.
Both from DOT and DDC, it was a joint response. It was both edited and written by both of our intergovernmental offices, and that is our response. It's the same response you're going to get. It's the same response from DDC and us.
And there were things that were left out of that letter.
That we called out to be addressed too. So there were many issues. So through on that, we will do that. But I think what this calls for is the issue that is actually been working.
And later on after us, we should have repaving.
Yeah. So we should go to Sam and then through in the back. So those are the two on deck. Your hands. Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious. So far, aside from the merchant surveys, there were 385 surveys completed. We had 3 sessions. Can you share with us the amount of participants at these sessions? I'm curious in the sample size. Well, if you can't answer that today,
I don't know, Margaret. We can get that to you,
Can you
and get the
please?
feedback. Yeah, when we get the raw data.
Thank you so much. Also, your third slide indicated a number, I think it was 170 bikes daily or something like that on Third Avenue.
Yeah.
That was in March. That number is way higher in summertime.
Yeah, higher in October. It's the highest in October. That's when we
Thank
collect
you.
the data, but yeah.
Thank you. And last item, Katie, you said 4 words that resonated, a very long time. So let me use those 4 words, a very long time ago. This board requested a truck study. We've never gotten the results of a truck study, but we're here talking about, I'm very concerned about this, and we're talking about making Third Avenue safer. I asked this at the session, by the way, didn't make it here. But I asked, how do we talk about making or think about making Third Avenue safer when we've not done the truck study? Official position, we want our truck study. Thank you.
So Roberto, Robert, and then, Daniel, and then Damian.
Quick question, these sessions, we have an MTA liaison. The reason why I asked is for my education. First of all, I'm a proponent for 5 minutes because I don't have to utilize bikes. But our bus operated for 20 years. The B37 is a route that you and I prayed a lot. At one point, they lost the 37 and they tell you, contingent on the day and the flow of traffic on the PQ, the traffic is terrible. So if you put them out, eliminating the lane, right, it's going to be even worse. Like me, I'm a union officer. I represent the operators at my depot. What happens is when you have that traffic, and since Third Avenue has been revitalized with the businesses, we are carrying more people. Traffic is bad. You get angry, ordinary people trying to get to work, trying to school, so on and so forth. Traffic is bad as is. So, how does that affect my members? Assault around. I don't know if you noticed that or watching the news. I know that's an NYPD issue. So, my question is, do you have an NTA liaison at these meetings? And if you don't, do you have a union liaison? Because the NTA, truthfully, they're really not concerned with surface transit. Their concern is rapid transit. That's where they generate the revenue. So if you don't have an NTA representative, how can we get a union representative on these meetings? Because the members are what is important.
At the workshop, is that what you're asking?
No, at these design things. Because look, right now,
We're working with you on the bus redesign for Brooklyn.
I've been told,
Yeah, we'll make sure that, any design changes that we'll figure out. And your question, what's your question?
no, on the bus redesign, I'm cognizant because I participate.
Right.
But with this particular one, I'm going to call this aspect. We're talking about 3 lanes to 2 lanes. Yeah, traffic.
Right.
For 20 years, I've been driving the 37.
Yep.
20 years, they've been doing construction of the D2. 20 years. So I just want to know if at least have some union representation at these future meetings. Is that possible?
But we're working with the MTA consistently on any design proposal we get. Yeah.
So maybe I'll jump in. I don't remember seeing MTA there at the Third Avenue proposal, so.
The redesign.
Yeah, you were at the BQE, but I'm just saying, I don't remember. They have a list. District, so I think that's an action. You guys can just see if anyone showed up. We have it. We should make sure it comes to the next meeting. And I think it always helps, DOT. Can do that. I can say for the QE meetings, we've had to get every single community organization to write joint letters to ask state DOT to show up. meeting, so that's the BQE design process, but we should definitely try and get them to come to the next meeting.
Yeah, we work with the NTA. We're bringing these options to the community, our first part, your guys, you're our partner in this process. This is what we're bringing to you all first. And we're gonna be working on the design after we try to settle on some type of path forward as far as the design. But we work with NTA, we have weekly meetings. Yeah, so we're in close contact with the NTA about our street.
Daniel, Damien, and then, Julio.
Thank you for so much. Also, since I remember my young member and Dan, so if they haven't met you. Thanks for coming. I think the comment I wanna, it's more of a comment than a question, is that how you frame these three proposals is the first being the least transformative, third being the most, as which one you like the most. And what I'm noticing is so far nobody's answered that question because everyone's been saying we want even more, right? We want ice rails and better lighting and speed bumps and all these things. And I'm saying that to say I'd encourage even bigger thinking, right? Someone mentioned it's been 31 years waiting for this. This is our shot. This is our shot to have Third Avenue be the Third Avenue that we want. And so option 3, which just for the record, out of these 3 options is the one I like the most, just some opinion on that. But still, I think clearly the committee doesn't seem to be particularly satisfied with any of them and want even bigger. And so that's my first point. Okay.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming down, and I would like to emphasize everyone's issue here. I would say my favorite one. Thank you for pointing that out because nobody really which one is my favorite. My favorite one is actually number 3, to remove a lane, because as someone who lives on Third Avenue and who constantly walks this every single day to get to work, to school for 21 years of my life. And just to remove just that one lane, I understand it might be hectic traffic, but I guess there's going to be hectic traffic because for someone who's a person here, I want to feel safe walking to up the block and down the block. And there's been most where like even the stop signal, and I saw that you actually have a picture on my block too. So it's on 45th Street and 3rd Avenue. That's my block. I love it so much. And just with the lighting, to as long needs to be improved. The same thing with the signals. It's literally not enough time. Literally, it's less than 30 seconds before the crosswalk turns from a man to like, and then I only have like 15 minutes, like 15 seconds. So total response, I need to get from point A to point B, like across, like in less than 45 seconds. And what happens with our elderly? We have people who use kids, who carriages, and a lot of people could walk from the other side of the street in like less than 45 seconds. It might at least give us a little minute. But yeah, and then to emphasize on the curb extensions, love it too. I would prefer to have those concrete blocks that you guys mentioned on the corners than just have paint.
Yeah,
I would say that's very more effective because I'm not gonna lie, I hate the trucks. I get that it's a truck route. I hate because when the truck always turns on my block, specifically 45th Street, to be like a whole 18-wheeler, it literally always hits the stop light post. And it's not safe because you have residents in the corner. If I'm standing on the sidewalk, I shouldn't be able to feel touched by a car because it's turning. So that's why I want to like say definitely for those blocks, because it encouraged the truck driver to find a different, bigger street. Because my street definitely it shouldn't be touching the sidewalk and it shouldn't be hitting other cars, especially the light post. Like it shouldn't be touching the light because people literally stand in that corner. I could get it. But other than that, yeah, thank you. That would be my concern.
And now the Julio. And then we are gonna go online and take a series.
I have a comments that may turn into questions. One, I very much appreciate echoing Katie's comments. This has been a multi-decade long conversation. And we are here having that conversation, talking about ways we can improve the corridor. I want to elevate the concern about that Robert brought up about the MTA. Third Avenue is a bus route, and I'm very curious how each one of these plans or a future plan would affect the B37. It is becoming a much more popular bus line for folks commuting back and forth along the corridor. And I just want to make sure that any design implementation that moves forward takes into consideration the current route and future expansion of the route. So that's point one. The second thing I wanted to mention is, as Dingman pointed out, Third Avenue is highly utilized by trucks and delivery trucks. This board has been on the record for well over a year, if not longer, about the increase in last mile trucking facilities. The one on 20th Street has not opened yet, but will be.
Yeah, no, no.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So I guess my comment is taking into consideration increased usage along the corridor, as well as we've been having this BQE discussion for a very long time. BQE Central will probably go into construction very soon, and the impact that would have both north and south, and how that would affect this corridor. I'm also a biker. I love bicycle riding. I like proposal 3, but my concern is with the plans for the BQE in the future, how that would impact not just traffic along this corridor, but also the residential streets. There's not a day that goes by that I hear loud honking because a truck can't get past another delivery truck, which I see very often, when they're not even supposed to be on residential lots. And I'm talking like 50-foot tractor trailers on like 56th Street. So my concern is how would a future plan for Third Avenue take into consideration the current growth of truck traffic, while also mitigating like safety along this corridor. It's one of the many issues we've had with this corridor with pedestrian safety, with folks crossing the street, and then not to mention the new school on 60th Street. I definitely want to see improvements for south of 54th Street and then north of 19th Street, which just like are significant issues that this board has talked about for years. And I'll stop there.
What was the question? There was
No, so I guess there wasn't a question. A whole bunch of left.
no. Those are all noted. Yeah, you're right. The truck traffic is we're gonna have to find a balance between safety and movement of trucks on Third Avenue. I think this has been mentioned many times. We identified it in the presentation. We heard many people at the workshop saying the trucks are a problem for pedestrian safety. This gentleman here was just saying, I'm getting buzzed by trucks when they're turning. If we create more space for the pedestrians, for the cyclists, for the transit users, the buzzing will be less likely. It's going to be the trucks will be further away from the pedestrians. We shorten those crossing distances for pedestrians. That exposure for pedestrians crossing those crosswalks, crossing Third Avenue, is going to be reduced. You're going to be able to get across Third Avenue faster because you'll be started. It's a shorter crossing distance overall. So it is a truck route, or you understand that, but we heard from the community, and I think our analysis and our research has indicated we need to scale it more to the human scale rather than the truck scale, and we need to do something ambitious. So your points are all taken. Thank you for sharing.
I do also want to note that the 20th Street last mile distribution center has been incorporated into the rental truck study, so that will be studied. find out that information. Hopefully by the end of the week.
Are you, doing a truck study from, if you're including 19th Street and Red Hook, are you doing a truck study along Third Avenue opposite Street?
We would love to see a truck study south. I'm always forgetting the directional, rent is, both ways for south of 19th Street as well as.
Is there a reason you're not doing it?
She said she doesn't have the capabilities to go in it.
So DOT doesn't have the resources, you're saying DOT doesn't have the resources to for Sunset Park between 19th Street.
Thank you. And I did actually have, a collector, my apologies, because I walked in late. But I'm curious what, the in betwixt of the street, avenue to the parking median. I happen to work in the South Bronx by Brooklyn Boulevard, and I noticed that they do a pretty interesting design where the bicycle lanes is in the middle of the road. And I'm curious, if there's any discussion on perhaps moving, bike lanes in the middle so they're not interacting with cars. Good to see the bonus slide.
All right, so you want to bring that one up? So we looked at that, and that's something that's been in the BQE workshops and BQE South workshops, at least some of the early workshop conception of this. And there's a number of challenges. First and foremost, it requires extensive signal construction to implement. When you have a bike lane going through the middle, you have to have what we call split phases. So you have to hold turning cars while cycles go through. It's going to back up like any left turning vehicle in those left turn bays. A lot of signal construction. Also, as we're looking at with this median path here, a lot of construction, a lot of reconstruction. Is that possible in the future? Yeah, but that's a capital effect. Because if we want to do something, we want to put some benefits out there, we do it in-house. We do not have the capabilities to reconstruct, 20 blocks of these. So they're big meetings. It would conflict with ongoing capital work on the corridor. And then finally, if we wanted to do a bike lane and we wanted to be protected, how would we protect the median side bike lane? We would use Jersey barriers like we're doing throughout the city. Where those Jersey barriers would be in relation to where the state vehicles need to be for maintenance, BQE, they conflict. Like a wall that's about 10 feet off the curb, right off the median for the bike lane, that would be exactly where a vehicle needs to park for the state to do the painting, to doing the maintenance, the lights, etc. So we looked at it. It's something that was brought up at the workshops, at BQE workshops. That would require a whole big capital project. That's not something we can do.
So speaking of capital, I know that DOT with state applied for the Reconnecting Communities grant. This is part of the infrastructure spending bill. And money that's under the IRA. Community Board 7 did ask for a copy of the proposal because it does impact our area. We've not received that, so in the Reconnecting Communities grant. I believe it's in the order of $135 million. One time, $50 million. If New York City does receive that money, and it does include our corridor, does that actually
part of that proposal? So I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that now.
Yeah, so we can get back to you tomorrow. You can email me your question, I'll get back to you.
So the question is, can we have the proposal that was submitted that has design treatments?
Question. We can't give you the proposal. However, CB7 will have the opportunity to make comments on what in the community outreach section.
So the question is, what does it take to get the capital needed to do the type of design improvements that you guys have said you can't do and trucks that you said where's that capital?
I think the capital question is a little bit independent of what we're proposing here. My point is that if we capital timings, even for the fastest capital projects for corridor improvements, as you may know, for that, they're a decade or more in the process. We want to get something, some portion of this in the ground in like 9-10 months, a year from now. We don't want to wait 10 years. Whatever we put in the ground is operational. Even if we put concrete in the ground, that's not forever. So we can be putting improvements in the near term and continuing to work on medium and longer term projects that cost more money, require more capital investment, more capital construction. They're not mutually exclusive.
Okay, we'll go to some questions. Is it Megan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Oh. I don't know why it's not coming through.
Can you, hello? Can you hear me?
I don't know why that's not.
Hello?
I think they're having issues. They
Hear you.
got
Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
Try again.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I am the PTA president of PS 939, which is at 60th and 3rd. I wanted to share that, and I'm sorry we couldn't really see or hear very well in the Zoom room, but I appreciate what everyone has said, which I think I've heard. I wanted to know about traffic signal studies for people crossing under and going west to east or east to west. The reason I ask is because in January, cars are always getting stuck under the guanos, right? Because they wait for everyone to turn left, etc., and then they get stuck there. It's a red light. They have to either sit there and have everyone honk at them or maybe crash into them, or they have to gun it and run the red light. So that happened in January. The cars crashed and they came just a few feet away from hitting a first grader who was crossing. I happened to get the footage right after, and I can send it to the CB board, to the board. If anyone can put any particular email address in the chat. And the reason I raise this is because part of the problem is that cars too don't have enough time to cross under, or they're waiting, etc. Now, after we went to the DOT with the footage, then we got some things in place. The speed cushion is on 60th, but it's not even like right in front of the school. So people go over the speed cushion and then they still speed. I wanted to know what you said, what can we do within the next 9 to 10 months? I want to know what you can do within the next 9 to 10 months, if or sooner, to protect the children in the schools that are right on 3rd Avenue. I keep thinking about that 7-year-old boy who was killed in Fort Greene. I keep thinking about the crossing guard who was killed by a dump truck. And it is very, very, very dangerous. My heart is in my throat every time I try to take my child to school. That's not fair to her. That's not fair to me. And that's not fair to any of us who didn't choose for our school to be put in this very, very dangerous intersection of 60th and 3rd. So I want to know what's going to be done about the schools, whether it's crash barriers, whether it's doing a signal study, whether it's 10,000 flashing lights so that everyone knows it's a school there. That's what I want to know of what's going to happen. And of all the options, I thought option 3 made sense, although I am a bit worried about the B37 because I know lots of people use it and I use it myself. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Like I said before, we're focused mostly on 3rd Avenue, but part of the larger proposal will be those cross streets, especially at the schools that we'll integrate into our full proposal back to the board with that. Like you said, we can do stuff like, the speed cushions, the speed humps where appropriate. Now, where the placement of those speed humps, speed cushions, is on the street in relation to the entrance to the school, in relation to the school itself, is really dependent on utilities, existing curb cuts, and then our other criteria of how far they need to be from the intersections, signals. There's a lot of different criteria. So, you know, our crews that site those on those corridors are doing the best they can. So, the Brooklyn Commissioner's Office works closely with your school to get those speed cushions in. Going back to the options, you know, and crossing distances, you know, shorter crossing distances, less time in crosswalks where there's that conflict between vehicles and pedestrians. You know, the signal timing you're mentioning, you know, it's hard for pedestrians to get across, it's hard for cars to get across. Yeah, Third Avenue has the majority of the signal, has the majority of the traffic. If we can shorten those crossing distances for everybody, that's a significant time left in like less exposure in those areas of conflict between vehicles and pedestrians, especially our most vulnerable pedestrians, the seniors, as well as children at the school. So all your comments are noted. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we have one question left behind, then we'll go to Gladys.
So there's a question in the Q&A from Sebastian Baez under Reed. Thank you, DOT, for coming to the community board today. At first glance, option 3 seems like the safest design for pedestrians and cyclists. How will this option accommodate bus stops on P37? How will address the double parking problems of loading and unloading for businesses and residents? Also, we committed to sharing this presentation with Community Board 7 and in turn the community.
Yes. Okay. First answer is the last one. Yes, this will be posted on the website tomorrow morning. It will be shared. That link will be shared with the community board. Everyone that has access to the internet will be able to access this. As far as how we would accommodate buses in any of the designs, it was designed through, right? Now there are a couple different options for that. You know, one would be that we would have a shared. I'm going to bring. Yeah, the area. Yeah. So right. Okay. Oh yeah, this is great. Okay, so there are a couple different options. One option is to add bus boarding islands. Now the challenge with that is that bus would be stopping in the travel briefly while it loads and unloads passengers. And the other option is that the bus would pull thicker, so there would be more of a buffer space in that spot where the island is. I like that. Where we're looking. That's where a bus boarding could be. Yeah. Right. Again, because it's an island, quote unquote, floating piece of concrete is away from the curb. We do not have the drainage concern that we would to create a large curb extension, or possible, as they're called. We can't do that in short story.
We'll go to Gladys and Jeremy's question. So Gladys.
So when you put the bus island there and you have the bike lane, people would still have to, and bikes would have to be aware that people on front are there. Like right now on 4th Avenue, bikes in the bike lane when pedestrians are trying to cross get hit constantly because the bike keeps going. So wouldn't that be the same concern there? Especially if people are trying to get on and off the bus. The B37 is used a lot by seniors and students. So I think that would be quite dangerous to have the protected bike lane and the B 37 together.
Yeah, there are pros and cons to the island. The pro is that if the bus doesn't pull over the curb, doesn't have to pull in traffic, and then the pedestrians get off at the island, and then there's a short crossing.
But they have to cross with a bike.
Yeah.
Right now, bikes are very disrespectful on Fourth Avenue.
And if the person was getting off the bus and crossing at the crosswalk, technically, I guess they should wait for the light, but there would be very good visibility for bikes before you cross back to the curb. But if you wanted to minimize any risk for transit users, then the bus needs to pull back to the curb and then pull back into the traffic, which could slow the bus down.
Madam. I was to say, when it comes to the schools, I know in Puerto Rico, they have not too many highways. There's not so much streets, there are highways. And by every school, they have traffic lights or signs that you have to go slow. You have no choice. You have to go. And as soon as you pass school, then you could pick up speed again. Because the speed limit slows down wherever there's a school. Even if the school's in a community, the traffic is slowed down. And they have all these things. Maybe that's something to consider. Because the streets over there, the main streets are highways.
Yeah. So we do have school slow zones throughout the city at schools. The issue being is it's an enforcement. Put up the sign, say, hey, drive only 1 miles an hour here. But if nobody's enforcing it, not really that effective. Right. And especially, well, not on Third Avenue, but the cross streets. That's why we were talking about the speed humps or the speed reducers. Third, we cannot put speed humps because it's a truck route and it's in multiple lanes in each direction. But on the cross streets, where we can investigate speed humps.
So my concern on the bike lanes. And I do agree with Cynthia. Some of the bike lanes, especially with all 5 miles. Have DOT think about putting speed bumps in the bike lane. The reason I'm bringing that is this is a concern, same concern that we had in China. That coming off and next to Sarah's and this school there, we're getting hit every single day. Same concept with the island every day. So DOT one time tried to come on study, DOT never made it because they got hit by on the way to the site to interview. Okay, so as a DOT think about putting my question practice, at DOT thinking about putting speed bumps on the bike and just slow down the bike, but the bike is not regulated. There's no they can't force them to get tickets. So we just told them that's my question.
We don't have speed bumps per se, but we have implemented rumble strips, we call them. You know, it's a series of thick markings that are preceding crosswalks that warn people, hey, it's a crosswalk. We put those in projects when they're going through crosswalks that are high volume. Going 25 miles an hour on a bike, that's quite fast.
Yeah. Can I follow up on the bus boarding and the e-bikes and the lights?
Sure.
I've seen in Manhattan that there's 2 different designs, right? One where the bike lane is separate and you have to walk through it to get to it, and another one where the bike lane goes onto the sidewalk type material. And I know that I share the concerns because when I wait for the bus, I'm on the sidewalk facing the bikes and the mopeds and everything. And do you guys have any data about which one works better and why you would consider this version as opposed to the one where it goes up and like would that slow them down? I don't know.
So the version that goes over the concrete, that's a version that the bus, it wouldn't be an island, it would be a bus bowl. So the concrete would be that whole, it would be everything in between the island and the curb there. Again, we can't do that, in-house because that requires the relocation of catch basins. We don't have data on which of those is more effective than the other, but,
So I just wanted to say I'm not a fan of speed bumps. The reason being they have to be, I think it's 100 feet from the corner. And the first thing you do after you go over a speed bump is you hit the gas. So you're 100 feet from the corner, people are still crossing, but now you're hitting the gas rather than slowing up at the intersection. I would encourage the use more of louvered lights, which you can't tell if it's green light, you can tell it's red, but you can't tell it's green, so drivers typically get more cautious when they think it's a broken light, and they can't see that it's green until they're right on top of it. Or even better, I think raised crosswalks, because when you have the raised crosswalk, it's like a speed bump, but you don't hit the gas until you're past the crosswalk.
we do build raised crosswalks in-house. They actually have similar concerns around drainage. So our site in-house is pretty typical for raised crosswalks, but we can investigate.
Thank you. Could you put the timeline slide back up that you guys have? Okay. So I just want to share this with the committee board and if you or later, what's the email?
PK07 at cb.nyc.gov. I've also put it in the chat.
Okay, so if you have questions and suggestions, please do send it to the community board. We will have a transportation committee December 11th, 6:30. So I just wanted to say that at that meeting, we will talk about the group tonight comments. We'll be putting it together and hearing our response so that we can come to the December board meeting with the recommendation and additional thoughts. The transportation committee, just that in front of all of you who are here, if you want to join. What's coming up is the BQE meeting, November 6th at PS 24, which is at 427 8th Street at 6:30. So there is BQE proposals on the highway level for revisioning, and then on Wednesday, November 8th, it's sessions. And there's also which is Thursday, November 9th at 7 o'clock, Community Board 10, because they're looking at the reconstruction of the Fifth Avenue Bridge over the LIR. And so that meeting is at 81st Street Avenue. So thank you to our DOT reps who came tonight. Hope that this was helpful and informative for you. Look forward to your presentation and the materials. You'll hear from us.
Great. Should we, do you want us to attend the December 11th meeting to answer questions? Or, okay.
But thank you so much. We can just thank you. And thank you. At this point, we will adjourn. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wow.